Conflict within the family over the estate of 1,000-Pound Sisters star Tammy Slaton. The popular reality program 1,000-Pound Sisters star Tammy Slaton isn't quite pleased with the choice to sell her $2 million estate to her sister Amy Slaton and Amy's husband Brian Lovvorn. According to Tammy, the property was sold without her consent. She asks Amy and Brian straight out for an explanation. Amy, however, has not spoken or said anything about the situation. However, Tammy has stated unequivocally that "I will sue you, sister, for selling my property without my consent." The two sisters' relationship has become even more complex as a result. Now, fans are anticipating the outcome of this family conflict. The well-kept lawn was bathed in a golden glow as the early sun streamed through the expansive bay windows of the $2 million estate. While her husband, Brian Lovvorn, went through the most recent property documents, Amy Slaton sipped her coffee calmly at the kitchen island. There was a storm that threatened to split the family apart, but everything else appeared to be tranquil, almost pleasant. With her phone clenched in her grasp, Tammy Slaton paced her tiny apartment on the other side of town. She had not yet entered anything, but her fingers were hovering over the text message box. Anger and betrayal flooded through her, and she could feel her heart thumping in her chest. Technically, Amy and Brian now owned the $2 million mansion she had dreamed about for years, the very house that had evoked memories of tears, joy, and innumerable family get-togethers. Even worse, according to her, she never consented to the transaction. With shaking palms, Tammy phoned Amy's telephone once more. The phone rang and rang, went to voicemail after that. Her voice wavered with a mixture of hurt and anger as she left a brief, but incisive note. "This is Tammy, Amy. I require answers. Without consulting me, how could you and Brian sell my property? Whatever you say, I will sue if necessary. Money isn't the only factor here. Trust is key, and you betrayed it." She hung up, her chest constricted. Her vision was obscured by tears. She reminisced about her early years, including the late-night laughter she had with Amy in their tiny bedroom, the secrets they had spoken, and the vows they had made to always support one another. How did this happen? Amy, meanwhile, sat still and gazed at the kitchen counter. When Brian put a hand on her shoulder, she dismissed it. She felt righteous, but she also knew Tammy was upset. Years of unpaid taxes, growing liabilities, and legal documentation had entangled the estate. By taking care of things Tammy hadn't been able to handle, Amy believed she was supporting her sister. She couldn't bring herself to answer the phone and explain, even though she believed it to be an act of love. Days became stressful weeks. With each increasingly incisive post, Tammy's social media was ablaze with mysterious messages. Fans made wild guesses. Some blamed Amy and Brian, while others felt sorry for Tammy. The public dispute intensified, providing material for reality TV recaps and gossip columns. Every like and remark seemed to stoke the fires even more. Tammy finally made the decision that she could not wait any longer. One steamy afternoon, resolved to face her sister head-on, she flew down to the estate. The enormous gates opened as she got there, and Amy was standing on the front porch with her arms crossed and a composed expression that barely covered her anxiety. Amy murmured, "Tammy," almost too quietly. Tammy shot back, her voice trembling. "I came for answers. I didn't expect you here. Why did you sell my house without telling me? Amy, I had faith in you. How did you accomplish this?" Amy paused and averted her gaze. "I believed that I was acting in the greatest possible way. The renovations, the taxes. I just wanted to keep you safe, Tammy. I didn't want to watch you suffer. Are you going to protect me?" Tammy gave a sour laugh. "You say I'm protected when you sell my house without asking? Is ignoring me a form of protection? Amy, this is my life. You simply decided you knew better after seeing my home and my memories?" The dispute swiftly became heated. Tears streamed, voices rose, and old scars reopened. The warm afternoon air poured out years of hidden hatred. The intensity of the sisters' confrontation overpowered Brian's attempts to intervene and moderate the situation. The The two sisters sat in uncomfortable quiet on the porch swing hours later, emotionally spent and fatigued. Although neither had completely forgiven the other, a tenuous bond of comprehension started to grow. Amy's voice was unsteady and low when she eventually spoke. "Tammy, I ought to have asked you first. Now I see that. I didn't realize how much this would hurt you, but I felt like I was helping. I apologize." Tammy's shoulders trembled. She wanted to accept the apology and believe her sister, but the pain was too deep. She said, "I'm not sure if I can trust you again." Sensing the opportunity, Brian moved aside to make room for them. He said quietly, "One step at a time. You both need time." As the sun started to drop, the estate was covered in lengthy shadows. The air felt lighter for the first time in weeks. The conflict had not ended. It would take a while to end. However, there was a glimmer of hope in that silent moment, the hope that maybe, in time, sisterly love could mend the damage caused by betrayal. Amy and Tammy understood in their hearts that this story was far from over. The conflicts, the money, and the estate were all merely parts of a much bigger picture. The true question was still whether sisterhood could withstand the test of treachery. Or would their family's history be permanently marred by this feud? Time would tell. Nevertheless, the dust particles that were idly dancing in the air were caught by the morning sunlight that came through the Slaton household's blinds. Rumors about Tammy, the younger Slaton sister, and the changes that had been taking place behind closed doors had been circulating in their little town for weeks. The news was hard to believe, but it was about to become indisputable. Amy was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee and using her phone to browse social media. A message read, "Local woman's transformation shocks the nation." Her eyes expanded and she paused, her face clouded with confusion. Tammy was clearly in the linked photo, but she was odd, smaller, healthier, nearly unidentifiable. Tammy's weight had always been a problem for her. Every visit to the doctor had been a struggle, and every reading on the scale had been a depressing moment. However, Tammy had dedicated the last year to a trip that, up until now, no one had completely comprehended. This incredible change was the result of extensive physical therapy, rigorous nutrition, and surgery. Amy was at her breaking point. She virtually sprinted to Tammy's house next door after grabbing her keys. Tammy was standing at the front door, smiling nervously when she got there. Her sister's once familiar physique, renowned for her commanding presence, suddenly appeared streamlined and vivacious. She seemed to have undergone a full rebirth. "Amy," Tammy said, her voice a mixture of fear and excitement. Amy said, stunned, "I didn't think anyone would believe it." Her gaze followed every aspect, including Tammy's face shape, arm tone, and effortless gait. She stumbled, "Tammy, I don't even know what to say." Tammy chuckled, her voice lighter than it had been in years. This is incredible. I understand. It didn't even seem humanly feasible to me. I kept believing that this was all a dream and that I had struck a wall. However, here I am." The sisters hugged and held each other close. The independence, the renewed vitality, and the life Tammy had been denied for so long were more important than simply losing weight. Friends and neighbors also started to notice. When news teams showed up with flashing cameras, Tammy consented to tell her story. She talked openly about her challenges, her anxieties, and the little triumphs that had sustained her. For many who had believed that change was impossible, every phrase struck a chord. However, things weren't always easy. Tammy was nevertheless subject to criticism from the outside world, rumors, and persistent suspicion. Some thought it was all digital trickery, while others couldn't believe the metamorphosis was real. But Tammy had evidence: her personal well-being, her rejuvenated energy, and the medical documents that traced her path. While meandering across the park one day, Tammy noticed elderly neighbors, couples exercising, and children playing. She became aware that she was now a participant in life rather than merely an observer. It was thrilling to be able to move freely, not feel discomfort, and do things she had previously believed were impossible. After a full day of interviews and social media excitement, The sisters spent some quiet time together on the couch that evening. Amy whispered, "You've inspired so many people today, Tammy. This type of change is real, and I believe the world needed to witness it. And it's feasible." With tears welling up in her eyes, Tammy nodded. "Amy, it wasn't simple. I wanted to quit on some days. I detested myself more on certain days than others. But I continued. Lastly, I can say that I am proud of myself." Amy grinned and squeezed her sister's hand. "You ought to be. The majority of people believe that what you have done is impossible. You've changed your story." Tammy's metamorphosis became widely known. Thousands of people who encountered comparable struggles were inspired by the story when it was featured on national news. Fans, complete strangers, and friends all sent messages sharing their own triumphs and setbacks. Every remark and sincere word served to confirm Tammy's accomplishments. After several months, Tammy reflected on her adventure while standing in front of a mirror. She had never known a lady so strong, so radiant, so alive, as the one staring back at her. After reflecting on the struggles, the tears, and the anger, she came to the important realization that change is more than simply physical. It is spiritual, mental, and emotional. All three had been defeated by Tammy. She had a wave of thankfulness as she went outside into the sunset's golden warmth. For her physicians, her sister, and the love and support that got her through her worst moments. Above all, for herself. The world had seen her accomplish the impossible. Once characterized by her weight, Tammy Slaton's courage, tenacity, and unwavering spirit now define her. Life went on, full with joy, promise, and limitless possibilities. Tammy's tale was about more than just losing weight. It was about optimism, willpower, and the indisputable fact that people are capable of much more than they ever thought. But on this particular hot and muggy afternoon in rural Kentucky, the air felt thick enough to stir with a spoon. Amy Slaton had just wrapped up a demanding week of interviews, filming, and juggling her sister Tammy at home. The house was particularly quiet today, though, since Amy and her small son, Gage, were left alone while Tammy went out to conduct some errands. In an effort to broaden her son's culinary horizons, Amy has recently been experimenting with cooking. 8-year-old Gage was an inquisitive youngster with a voracious appetite, but like other children, his taste was restricted. His favorite foods were pizza, macaroni and cheese, and fried chicken, but Amy had decided it was time to expose him to something a little more daring. Something bold, something southern. The afternoon's highlight was an alligator tail that had just been washed and placed on the counter. Amy had purchased an alligator from a nearby farm that took pleasure in raising free-range, ethically raised animals. Amy liked her cuisine hot, and she thought Gage should be taught to enjoy a little heat early on. The beef was marinated in a strong mixture of cayenne, paprika, garlic, and lemon. "Mom, are you certain?" Gazing at the large, glossy pieces of gator meat, Gage inquired. "It looks strange." Amy tried to conceal the flutter of anxious excitement in her chest by smiling and saying, "Like chicken, but not chicken."
"Don't worry, sweetie.
"It's healthy, but it will be spicy. Please, just one mouthful." Gage nodded while wrinkling his nose, and Amy felt a bit proud of the mixture of trust and inquiry in his eyes. She wanted to teach him something new today, but she had always been protective of him, especially in this world of cameras and reality TV drama. When the alligator struck the skillet, it sizzled. The scent was enticing, garlicky, smoky, and slightly citrusy, which caused the mouth to water uncontrollably. Amy made sure the pieces cooked evenly by turning them. She smiled at the hot kick and occasionally snatched a piece to sample. She served a small bit on Gage's favorite dinosaur-themed plate after the cooking was finished. In an effort to combat the heat, she placed a glass of milk next to it. She offered a fork with a tiny cube of the golden brown meat and remarked, "All right, here goes nothing." Gage gazed at it as if it were a scientific test. He reluctantly extended his little fingers and popped the fragment into his mouth. Silence was the initial response. Amy held her breath, watching him intently. Gage's eyes then grew wide.
"Whoa, Mom, whoa."
"It's spicy." His small face scrunched up as he exclaimed. Amy chuckled. It's going to be spicy, I promised. If it's too hot, take a sip of milk. Gage drank some milk, and his face soon softened into a smile of pleasure. It's genuinely good. Excellent. Amy had a wave of pride and comfort.
You see?
I knew you would enjoy it. Baby, this is alligator. A true southern gator. Gage ate contentedly for the next hour, coughing sometimes munch a particularly spicy bite, but never complaining. Not many kids get to sample it. Amy told him tales about rivers, swamps, and alligators. She even concocted a short tale about a gator that wished to learn how to dance. Amy's heart swelled as Gage burst out laughing at her antics. Amy discovered later that this little gourmet experience had involved more than just food as they washed up the dishes together. The goal was to instill in Gage the values of courage, experimentation, and acceptance of life's small pleasures, even if they were chewy, flaming alligator meat. Gage abruptly murmured, "Mom," pulling at her sleeve. "Can we repeat this the following week? With something even more spicy, perhaps?" Amy pulled him into an embrace while laughing.
We'll see, sweetie.
But yes, I believe we can accomplish that. Amy was happy as the sun started to drop over the little town, bathing the kitchen in golden light. She came to the realization that these little adventures, these shared experiences, were what really mattered in this little, everyday moment, surrounded by laughter and the lingering smell of spices and garlic. For Gage, it was more than just his first taste of fiery alligator. It was about trusting his mother, venturing outside of his comfort zone, and realizing that often the most savory memories are the ones that initially appear the scariest. But after getting off the scale, Lee sat on the examination table with perspiration still sticking to his forehead. There was tension in the room. Rena, his wife, was sitting silently in the corner with her arms folded, already preparing for what she knew was about to happen. After taking a quick look at his clipboard and tapping his pen on the paper, Dr. Smith turned to face Lee. "Lee," said Dr. Smith in a calm but strong voice, "you've put on 11 pounds since your last visit." 11 pounds. We discussed this. We have a goal. And you've regressed rather than lost weight. Lee's face turned crimson. He detested weigh-ins. The number on the scale, which indicated whether he was respected or despised, felt like a punishment. Anger and embarrassment were already beginning to blend. "You believe I'm unaware of that?" Lee yelled. "You don't suppose that number appears in my mirror every single time? You don't have to put it in my face." Dr. Smith remained unflinching. He has experienced similar situations with innumerable patients in the past. Lee, however, was different. His pride made him defensive, and his fury was hotter. "I won't put it in your face, Lee," the doctor said calmly. "This is life or death, which is why I'm telling you. You cannot continue to put on weight in this manner. Your legs, lungs, and heart are not going to last. You've already come dangerously close. You are aware of the stakes." Rena stirred uneasily in her seat. She has heard the same cycle of arguments before. The doctor attempted to bring Lee back to reality after he lashed out because he felt judged. However, Lee became enraged more quickly than normal this time. "You have no idea how it feels," Lee bellowed, causing the little examining room to tremble. "You sit there with your slim little physique and nice clothes, and you think you know what I'm going through? You don't. This body is not your home. When I move across the room, you don't feel the anguish. You have no idea what it's like to crave food so much that, even after eating, you still feel like you're starving." Dr. Smith's mouth clenched. Although he felt sorry for Lee, he also couldn't let justifications win out. "You're correct," he said coolly. "Your body is not where I reside. Your pain is not felt by me. What do I see, though? I see patients who fail because they allow their fear and anger to prevent them from changing. Lee, I do not wish for you to be among those patients. Rena is with you here. There are those that adore you. But I can assure you that your body will fail if you continue to fight me rather than for your life. And it will happen sooner than you anticipate." With each breath, Lee's chest heaved. His fists were tightly clenched as he gazed at the ground. He knew in his heart that the doctor was correct, even though he didn't want to hear it. He recalled the nights he'd woken up gasping for air because he was having trouble breathing. He recalled how Rena had been crying as she attempted to assist him as he fainted while attempting to walk to the restroom. Previously, those memories were insufficient to deter him, but now they were piercing his pride. At last, Rena broke the heavy silence with her voice. "Lee, please. You must pay attention. I'd rather not bury you. I'd rather not lose you. I'm not able to accomplish this alone. You don't believe that I also hurt? I want us to fight together. Even though I'm fighting my own struggle every day. Together, I want us to win this." Lee struggled not to cry as tears welled up in his eyes. His rage gave way to dread, humiliation, and desperation. His voice was sharper now but softer as he turned back to Dr. Smith. "So what? Do you want me to go hungry? Do you want me to endure daily pain in the hopes of extending my life? Is that a living thing?" Dr. Smith spoke steadily yet softly as he leaned forward. "Lee, I don't want you to go hungry. I want you to be in charge. There is a distinction. You don't have to be owned by food. It's killing you because you've allowed it to rule you for years. However, you have the ability to alter that. Nobody claimed it was simple. Nobody claimed that it is painless. However, to truly live is to endure the difficult times in order to relish the years to come. Do you not desire that?" Lee took a while to respond. In the quiet, the clock ticked away loudly. He finally mumbled, "I don't know if I can do it," with a deep sigh. "You can," said Dr. Smith firmly, "but only if you start fighting for yourself instead of me. I can provide you with the resources, but I am unable to make the decision for you. You are responsible for that." Rena extended her arm and lightly placed her hand over Lee's. "We'll work together on it. One step at a time. Lee, please. Keep trying before we give up." With the tears finally streaming down his cheeks, Lee closed his eyes. Only fatigue and a glimmer of hope remained after his rage had burned out. Perhaps, just possibly, he could give it another go. For the first time during the consultation, Dr. Smith's tone softened as he leaned back. "Lee, that's all I want. Give it a shot. Not for me. Not even for Rena. For you. Because it is worth saving your life." The room fell silent once more, but this time it wasn't because of rage. Something else filled it. Something firm yet genuine. Though he knew in his heart that the battle was far from finished, Lee wasn't prepared to make any commitments. But nothing could have prepared the Slaton sisters for what their feisty and outspoken sister, Amanda, was about to say, even though they had always been renowned for their ups and downs. Dixon, Kentucky, had a calm Saturday afternoon. Amy had asked Tammy and Amanda to join her for lunch as a family. Tammy sat comfortably in her wheelchair, drinking sweet tea and watching the mayhem as Amy's two boys ran around the living room. Tammy smirked as she attempted to seize one of the youngsters who sprinted by her, teasing, "Amy, you always got these kids running wild." "They just have so much energy, sissy," Amy chuckled. "Better than just sitting around like we adults." Amanda sat at the kitchen table, tapping her fingernails on the surface after being abnormally silent. She was usually the loudest of the group, constantly cracking jokes, yelling at her sisters to straighten up, and never hesitating to express her opinions. But she seemed oddly silent today. Amy was the first to notice. "Are you okay, Mandy? Ever since you entered, you have been sitting there like a ghost." Tammy also looked around. "Yes, what's going on? Usually, you can't keep your mouth shut long enough for us to speak." At last, Amanda inhaled deeply. "Well, I've been hiding something from you guys. And it's time for me to be honest." Amy stopped. "Don't tell me you're moving away too, Lord. No additional alterations will be tolerated by me. I'm trying to keep this place together after Tammy finally moved out of rehab. Don't make me more anxious, sis." Amanda gave a head shake. She stopped, her eyes sparkling, and said, "No, it ain't that. Last month, I went to the doctor. They also discovered something." There was silence in the room. As if sensing the anxiety, even the children appeared to relax. Tammy bent over. "You mean you found something?" Amanda took a deep breath. "They discovered a bulge. Within my breast." Amy's jaw dropped. "What?" She ran to her sister and sat down next to her. "Why didn't you tell us sooner, Amanda?" Amanda's voice broke. "Because I didn't want to cause you any concern." Tammy has been doing so well lately, fighting for her life and getting healthy. Additionally, Amy, you have been juggling your marriage, the kids, and everything else. I didn't want to add more troubles to yours. Tammy's face turned white. What are they saying, then? Is it cancer? Amanda gave a slow nod. They believe it could be. Next week, I have additional tests coming up. But I'm afraid, Amanda, who is often brave and tough, briefly broke down and covered her face with her hands. She had consistently been the family's pillar of support, calling everyone out and encouraging her sisters to put in more effort. Amy and Tammy were devastated to see her cry. Amy encircled her with her arms.
Oh, sis.
You ought to have informed us sooner. We are elated. We won't ever leave you to deal with this alone. With tears in her own eyes, Tammy rolled closer. You've been fighting for us all these years, Amanda. It is now our turn to defend you. We're all in this together, no matter what. Do you hear me? Amanda looked at her sisters and sniffed. You guys mean that? We certainly do. Amy spoke firmly. Do you think we would let you experience something similar without our help? No way. We are sisters of Slaton. We may argue and fuss, but when it counts, we stand by each other. Tammy gave a nod.
Exactly.
Weight issues, health scares, broken marriages, you name it. We've been through hell and back.
We're still standing, though.
And we will also overcome this. Amanda wiped away her tears and laughed shakily. Leave it to you guys to make a breakdown into a motivational speech. Amy grinned. Sisters are like that. There was a fresh energy in the room. There was determination, not fear. Holding hands, the three sisters sat together. For once, it made no difference who required assistance or who was the strongest. Love and the pledge that no one would be left behind linked them together as equals. Amy made Amanda make a commitment before she left. Mandy, no more secrets. You inform us that you're feeling something. If we are unaware of the battle, we cannot fight it. Amanda gave a nod. You got it. You guys are going to know everything from now on, even if it is unsightly. Though she was crying, Tammy grinned. Well, honey, we've already witnessed your worst sides. Nothing about this is new. The tension slightly eased as the sisters started laughing. However, they all knew in their hearts that the path ahead would be difficult. However, the startling revelation had served as a powerful reminder that no war was too huge, no mountain too high, or any struggle too frightening to face as long as they had each other. Amanda felt lighter than she had in weeks when she returned home that evening. She also genuinely thought she wouldn't be alone for the first time since receiving her diagnosis. Because she was a Slaton sister, not just Amanda. This implied that she was never battling by herself. But even though the Slaton family had weathered many storms together, nobody could have foreseen the impending event. Tammy Slaton had been fighting weight and health problems for years. She also had mobility problems, oxygen dependency, and a never-ending battle with food addiction. Her family has witnessed numerous medical visits, hospital stays, and near misses. But Tammy had stopped posting on social media and even avoided family get-togethers following her most recent weight loss surgery. Although she claimed to need time to heal, she was actually preparing for something much more significant. She wanted her metamorphosis to come as a surprise to everyone. Her younger sister, Amy, had a suspicion that something was wrong. Tammy had been strangely private, never allowing Amy to come see her in person, refusing FaceTime chats, and always covering her body when they did get to speak. One evening, Amy confided to her husband, "She's up to something. My sister is someone I know. She doesn't remain silent like this unless she has a big plan." A few weeks later, Tammy invited everyone to their former Kentucky house for a family cookout. Amy had a suspicion that Tammy had a more ambitious plan, but everyone else believed it was just a little gathering. When the day finally came, the Slaton family was seated around the picnic tables in the backyard, laughing and talking while the grill smoked in the distance. However, Tammy had not yet arrived. Chris chuckled and shook his head, saying, "She's late to her own cookout." Typical Tammy. The house's back door creaked open as everyone began to worry where she was. A figure emerged, and silence descended upon the yard. Initially, nobody knew who she was. It was Tammy, slimmer and taller than they had ever seen her, walking without oxygen, without a walker. She had a confident smile on her face, her hair styled and makeup done, and she was wearing jeans and a fitting top that genuinely embraced her new form. She said, "Hey y'all," with a new vigor in her voice. The family froze. Amy's mouth dropped open and her eyes grew wide. "Does that look like you, Tammy?" Tammy's laughter was more joyful than anyone had heard her make in a long time. "Sis, it's me. 300 pounds less. I said I had something in the works." Amy's eyes welled up with tears, and she rushed to embrace her sister. "Oh my God, Tammy, you look amazing. It's unbelievable that this is genuine." Normally gruff and sardonic, Chris wiped a tear from his face. "I'm at a loss for words, girl. You appear completely different as you stand here. You have my admiration." As their aunt appeared to them like a superhero, Tammy's nieces and nephews applauded and clapped. Even her cousins, who had frequently questioned if she would ever succeed, were in amazement. They had worried for years that Tammy wouldn't live long. Now, however, she was the epitome of fortitude and resolve as she stood before them. Tammy finally talked about her journey over supper. The rigorous diet, the agonizing recuperation following surgery, the emotional struggles with food cravings, and the ongoing pressure of being in the spotlight were all challenges she acknowledged. She admitted, "There were days I thought I couldn't do it. I wanted to give up on some days. Then I considered all of you. I pushed through after giving my desired life some thought." Amy nodded through tears as she firmly grasped her sister's hand. "Tammy, you've also given me hope. Seeing you battle has strengthened me on my own path. I'm really pleased with you." The family grieved, laughed, and toasted Tammy's new chapter as the evening wore on. For the first time in years, the emphasis was on Tammy's accomplishments and her future, rather than her hardships and suffering. Later that evening, Tammy traced the outline of her tiny frame and touched her face while standing in front of a mirror. Sure, she had startled her family, but she had stunned herself more. For the first time, she felt that she could lead a life that she had previously considered unattainable. And Tammy thought to herself, this is just the beginning, as she fell asleep that night, surrounded by love and support. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mina, and I hope you're having a great day. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the video.
But